Hi everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today we're going to use trendy colors to create two cards and two matching gift tags using this wonderful Making Spirits Bright kit. So today we're going to start by using the Festive Swag Stencil and Die set. And we're going to go ahead and take some of the cardstock and get it cut down and prepped and ready for our cards. So I've got the green leaf and the Audrey blue cardstocks cut in half, and then I've cut A2 panels from that half of cardstock from both the blue and the green. And then from the half sheet of white cardstock, we're going to take the Festive Swag stencils and die. And I decided I thought it would be easier to go ahead and die cut my Festive Swag 4 times from this half sheet of cardstock, gently or temporarily, tape it in place on the back with some Post-it tape to do my stenciling. This is just going to kind of help give me that visual to help get my stencil lined up every time. What I love about the Festive Swag stencil set is that it does have a nice little outline on each. So it's really going to help you line up your stencil each time. We're going to start with the greenery and using some of the green ink from the kit as well as a blending brush. We're going to take the cabbage color ink and apply that with the first stencil. And I'm going to do this 4 times. Everything I'm going to do here is 4 times. Now, if you got the kit from Simon Says Stamp, everything I am using in today's video is from the kit. Otherwise, you can pick up the majority of the components individually here at Simon Says Stamp, so you can always grab your favorites. Going to add that nice light green, and I decided I wanted to go in the order of inks so that I was starting with my light green color and kind of, gradually building the color up, if you will. The next greenery that I'm going to stencil with the next stencil will be the artichoke color, and then I will finish with the kale color. I love, love, love this trio of green inks. It is one of my favorites. Now I'm going to grab my next stencil, and I do make a little adjustment here because I really wanted a certain leaf, this leaf here, to be in my darkest color. And while I was going to go ahead and start with this one, I did want to kind of progressively go in order of lightest to darkest with my green inks. I mean, once your blending brush has been inked, I could always wipe it off, but I thought just for the ease of inking, it would be easiest to do it this way. So now we're going in with artichoke, my favorite, by the way. I love this color. And just like we did with the first stencil, we're going to do all 4. I feel like this design lends itself very well to mass producing. If you love mass producing like I love mass producing, and especially for our Christmas cards, you want to be able to create mini cards very quickly and easily, and layering stencils are one of the best ways to do that, in my opinion. Okay, now we'll go back to that last stencil. Now, something I want to note about the Festive Swag. I was a little concerned that there was going to be loads of white. When I first started inking this, I thought, oh my gosh, there is no way that this is going to fill in with all of the color. You guys, it ended up being absolutely incredible. So as we keep building this, and then we get the bow in, and then we will wait to do the berries till very last. But as I started inking, I started to realize it is filling in all of that white space. Just kind of a funny little note, and something that I found myself thinking as I was working on this project. And I almost forgot this one, so we're going to go back in here and grab that. Okay, our bow is next. Now for the bow, it is just a single stencil. But what I'm going to do is we're going to go in with SEAFOAM and Ocean inks. Again, both are included in your kit. And we're going to start with the light color first. Now, normally, if I was only doing one of these, I would go in with my SEAFOAM. I would apply the SEAFOAM ink. Then I would load up my brush with the darker color ink and I would go in. What we're going to do, and because stencils line up so easily, is we're going to go through, stencil all the light color first. So I went and did all of the SEAFOAM first, and then we're going to go in with our darker color, and we are going to just shade a little bit of the Ocean ink in just towards the center, trailing down a little bit towards the tails. But you can see I'm using a very light hand, and that's going to give us a beautiful shading blend for this bow. And I, again, going to do this for all 4 of these. Look at that beautiful aqua with all of the greens. So, so pretty. Okay, now next would come the berry stencil, but I want to emboss my berries. So I'm going to leave that for a minute and we'll actually set this aside. But as I was looking at my greenery, I felt that that lightest green needed a little additional shading. So I went ahead and took my same blending brush, say that 5 times fast, loaded up with Ocean ink, and I blended a little bit of that in or over the cabbage color, and I love the bit of shading this adds to that greenery. Okay, I'm just going to leave this just as is, set it aside, let all that ink completely dry before I introduce any embossing ink or embossing powder. On a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of the Audrey Blue cardstock, I'm now going to go in with my Ocean ink and my blending brush, and I'm going to go around the edges of the panel. I want to use a fairly light hand. Normally, I'd probably use a bigger blending brush, but this just shows that you don't have to if you only have this size. So what I'm doing is going around all of the edges, just kind of gradually pulling that color in towards the center. And it's going to be very light. We actually don't want to cover up the center part of this panel at all. I just want the edges to be dark. Now, I did start with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel. I will be trimming this down. And in fact, I think it kind of gets rid of some of maybe the harsher edges, especially in those corners. I like my corners to be darker, but I will be trimming it down to 4 by 5 1/4. The same is going to go for our green leaf background. I am blending the artichoke color in just like I did with the Audrey Blue, and we're going to build up that color all the way around. I wanted my background to have a little bit of shading to it before we incorporate the rest of the fun techniques that we have in store for the backgrounds of these cards. We are going to be using one of my all-time, if not my all-time favorite way to add interest to a background, and that, yes, it is with a text stamp. And in your kit, you get the white Christmas text stamp. It is a grungy typewriter type of sentiment that I love. You're going to see me use this all season long. I absolutely love it. But before we get to it, I decided we definitely need some of these wonderful simple stars stencil included in the kit. So I'm going to go in same color of ink. So on the green, I'm going to go ahead and use the artichoke, and we're going to stencil the stars. On the blue, we're going to take the Ocean ink and stencil the stars so that we have these beautiful faded stars in the background on our cardstock panel. So we have inked edges, we have inked stars, and then we're going to go in with the text background with the white pigment ink included in the kit, and we're going to do a beautiful all over text background for our cards. Now I'm going to do a quick color change on my stencil. I use a little rubbing alcohol to clean that up really quickly. And then again, we're just going to line this up. I'm using a magnetic glass mat to work on, and I'm going to use my magnets to hold it in place as I apply that Ocean ink right over our Audrey Blue background. And some of the stars are going to be darker, some are lighter. I kind of like those different shades, different intensities, I should say, of those stars in the background. Okay, now that we have our stars, I am going to trim down both backgrounds. So I'm kind of trimming off about 1/8 of an inch from all 4 sides so that I have that even border from my inking of the edges. And then we're going to place our white Christmas text background in a stamp positioner. I highly recommend some sort of a stamp positioner like the Misty because it's going to help you. If you don't get good coverage the first time, you can always stamp it again. Same goes for our sentiments. So I'm going to place my background right here in my Misty. I'm going to place that text right over it. And then we're going to ink it up with my favorite Simon Says stamp, white pigment ink. This is my favorite white pigment ink. I love this look, and we're going to stamp this right over the background. Now, it's always a little more intense, just like any kind of dye ink when you first apply it. As that ink absorbs into the cardstock and as it dries, it is going to fade a little bit. It's not going to be quite so in your face and prominent. So I've done that for both of my cards. Even though they're different colors, everything about these cards is pretty much the same, just the colors for the backgrounds and the sentiments we're going to use will be slightly different. Okay, now that we worked on our backgrounds, we've given our festive swag plenty of time to dry. We're going to take the little embossing ink cube included in the kit, and I did grab a little blending brush from my stash so that I could very precisely apply the embossing ink right through the stencil for the festive swag. It's all these little circles. We're going to use the silver embossing ink included in the kit. Let's pop this one out, make sure we love it before I fully commit to it on all 4. If you haven't done a tester already, I would recommend at least giving it a try or testing it on 1. That way you still could go in with, maybe you want to do a red ink color or something for your berries. You could always adjust that at this point. But I applied my silver embossing powder. I'm going to heat set it, and I absolutely love it. The elegance of the aquas and the silvers and the greens in this kit just really give a beautiful wintry look and feel. So just heating up the silver embossing powder for our silver berries. We will then go back to our other 3 festive swag images, and we are going to ink those up, apply our silver embossing powder, and we'll have them all ready to go. Look at that shine in the upper left corner of the screen. You can see the silver embossed berries. Really, really pretty. I love that kits sometimes force me to work outside of what I would say my normal quote unquote comfort zone is, where I might have been tempted to go with a red ink here. I love the addition of the silver. It just matches everything else in this kit so beautifully. Okay, now that I have heat set all of my berries, it is time to place these on our card backgrounds. Now, I did 2 on each, so it kind of forms more of a wreath. Yes, I know one of the bows is upside down, but I don't really think it is that noticeable. I love kind of that rounded effect and that natural spot that we get for our sentiment from the Making Spirits Bright greeting. So what we're going to do is take some of the foam, or a lot of the foam adhesive squares included in your kit. We're going to place them on the back of the swag, and we're going to pop up both of the swag pieces on each card background. So one at the top, one at the bottom. I'm kind of lining each up with the top and the bottom of the card, leaving that nice, beautiful circular opening in the middle for our greeting. You can see that I've laid out my stamps, preparing for and leaving room for those when we get to that point. On some of the additional Audrey Blue and Green Leaf cardstock, I'm going to use my powder tool from Simon Says Stamp to prep my cardstock, use the embossing ink from the kit, and stamp those greetings from Making Spirits Bright. We're using Peace and Joy and Joy to the World for our cards today. And on each, we're going to sprinkle on the silver embossing powder, heat emboss this, and then die cut with those coordinating dies. I love, love, love the fonts in this stamp set. You are going to find so many uses for this greeting set this holiday season. It is fantastic, and there are coordinating dies for all of the large sentiments in this set, all of the scripty or large-ish sentiments. So makes it perfect. I chose to stamp my greetings on the colored cardstock so that when they're placed in the center of that kind of wreath shape on our card background, that the color of the cardstock sort of blends into the background and the silver embossing shows there in our, let's call it a wreath. And I did that for both of these. That way I wasn't stamping and embossing on white, which would be pretty as well, but I felt like this way it keeps the focus on the greeting, on that festive swag, and it just kind of lets that background fade into the background of the card. And there is our second one. We're again going to take some foam adhesive squares, using a lot of the rest of the squares from our kit. Maybe you might have to use a few from your stash. If you're like me, you have quite a stash of foam squares from Simon Says Stamp, and we're going to pop up our sentiment right here in the center. And I want to try to get it as centered as possible. And I also like the tails of that ribbon slightly overhanging on some areas and underneath on others. We're going to do this for both backgrounds and then take some of the craft glue included in the kit and some of these wonderful embellishments also from the kit. And we're going to scatter these little clear flat back sequin embellishment mix throughout our design. Some are going to be on our greenery, some are going to be on the background. Once we have a good mix on both of our cards, we are then going to grab some of our white top fold card bases from Simon Says Stamp, or side fold if you prefer, and place these panels right on those card backgrounds. I always love the addition of a little bit of extra sparkle on my cards. I think that these sequins really complement the silver embossing beautifully. We're going to do the same thing over here. Using a triangle tray and an embellishment wand from Simon Says Stamp also helps whenever you're working with small little detailed embellishments like this. We will be using the craft glue again to glue these panels right to our card bases. I really feel like trimming these backgrounds down before we place them to the card base is important, because when I take these and glue them now to the card base, it's really going to complement the white outline from our die cut festive swag. I feel like it ties the whole thing together, frames it up beautifully, and really sets this beautiful design apart. Once we have both of this done, I felt like it was time to create some coordinating gift tags. I absolutely love creating gift tags, and so using some of the leftover green and blue cardstocks from the kit, I decided to create very similar tags minus the festive swag. This time I have die cut 2 of each from the blue and the green, and then we're going to take our wonderful Simple Stars stencil, and we are going to stencil those stars on the fronts of our tags, just like we did for our card. So using ocean ink for the blue and artichoke ink for the green. We're also going to take our blending brush, and I'm just going to lightly go around the edges. This is very similar to our cards. I wanted them to coordinate but not be exact replicas of the cards themselves. So again, we're going to do this for our second tag as well. And you can see I just moved over to a clean area of the Simple Stars stencil with my artichoke ink. We're just going to go through and stencil our little stars here. Now, why did I not go all the way down to the bottom of the tag? That's because I'm actually going to be putting a little bottom on the tags. You can see those white cardstock pieces over there. I've used our nested tag dies included in the kit, and I have die cut just the bottom portion of each tag from a little scrap of the white cardstock from the kit. We're going to add that here in a minute. Next, I'm going to place both of my tags side by side in my MISTI, and the size of the nested tags I used are small enough, I guess I want to say, that I can stamp both of them at the same time, so making the most of my time. We, of course, are using the white Christmas text with the white pigment ink right over our card backgrounds. Then we're placing those little white bottom tag pieces in our MISTI and stamping from our family to yours in the coordinating ink color, either Ocean or Artichoke, right along that bottom edge. Then I'm just going to take my little bottom tag piece, line it up with about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to use my paper trimmer to die cut each of these. This is going to be a little contrast strip right at the bottom of each of my tags. We're going to take our craft glue again and glue the coordinating stamped bottom to our tag front. And I love how cute this looks. Then we're going to take the other tag that we die cut and we're going to glue them back to back. This is an optional step, but I like how clean it makes the back of my tag, plus it makes it very stable. Okay, we're going to do this for the second one. Plus I have additional greetings. You can see here the merry and bright greetings that I have stamped and embossed on the coordinating colors of cardstock, just like I did for my 2 cards. We're going to position our sentiments down at the bottom of each of our tags, kind of right here above where that little contrast strip is, and I'm popping these up with some additional foam adhesive squares. Again, I like the choice of having the cardstock the same color as the background. It kind of blends in, allowing you to easily see the beautiful silver embossing of that sentiment. Now the top of the tags. For me, that whole reinforcer piece is so important because it finishes off your tags perfectly. From some of the white cardstock in the kit, I die cut 4 of these, 1 for each of the, or 2, I guess, for the fronts and 2 for the backs. This really finishes off your tags so nicely. So it's optional, of course, but I do love how this looks. And then the back of the tag is left blank. You can always handwrite, the recipient or your name on the back so they know who the gift is from. I'm just cleaning out those holes a little bit with the tip of my tweezers. You also get this wonderful length of silver cord included in the kit. I'm going to cut mine in half, 1 for each tag. I highly recommend this silver cord. Pick up a spool of it from Simon Says Stamp. You will be using it all season long on your holiday and beyond craft projects. Now, since I'm not using the festive swag on either of my tags, I did feel that we should add at least some of the embellishment mix onto these to finish them off and add that extra touch of sparkle. You always could add additional greenery die cuts or other things from your stash if you want to, but I love the simplicity of these. It allows the simple stars to really shine, and it's just really so pretty, and I think these will brighten up any holiday package during the holiday season. Add a few more, and that is it, friends. So 2 cards, 2 tags, all using the Cathy Zieske Merry and Bright kit, card kit, class components. I hope this has inspired you to make some super fun things with your class kit. You could even pick up individual pieces if you want to, use your favorite colors, and I would love to see your projects. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these holiday themed projects. The supplies I use are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thanks for watching.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.